So, what does all this mean for advertising? Well, one of the things that we've been saying for the last week since we launched this is that this recession is not cyclical. It is structural. Let me explain a little bit by relation to advertising. What this chart does is there was a chart I showed earlier which had a V on it, and I kind of highlighted the angles of the V, but it was still a V. When you just strip out the advertising, and you just look at the advertising, you can see, and this is a global number, okay? So a global number obviously includes some of the growth markets of India and China, but you can see that in 2009 we're looking at, on average, a 12% decline. Let's face it, Russia dropped 22% in the first half. So, this is kind of roundabout there or thereabouts on a global basis. It will continue to decline during 2010 by a bit. And it then begins to grow. But if you've got, I'm not sure I could do this if I had been drinking last night, which I was, but if you look at where 2013 is and you try to cast your eye across, you can basically see that total ad spend is below what it was in 2007. That's the global. If I did it for the US, it's below 2004. Advertising is not coming back. Advertising spending as we know it is not coming back. Why? I think there are 2 or 3 reasons, probably even more, and if you can suggest them later, I'm happy to credit them to you. The first thing is we've got a price impact. Everything's getting cheaper. Law of supply and demand says if there's more fragmentation of media, whether that's on channels or whether that's online, there's more supply, more places to put your ad. However, demand is static and if anything declining. So what happens? The price goes down. It's pretty cheap to advertise right now. And that price effect will continue. Secondly, as brands are reducing their ad spend at the moment, we know what they're cutting. They're cutting terrestrial television and they're cutting print. However, they're still needing to spend money and stay relevant to their consumer. So they are engaging more in online activities, whether that's direct advertising or in other ways of communicating with their customer. And we think that that's going to be pretty effective, and we believe that as brands get even more comfortable with the accountability of what we're talking about, that even when their budgets come back, you know what? They may be advertising in volume, but the price won't be there, and so overall they will be spending less. The third reason also is that, often the question is, should you be doing PR? Should you be doing advertising? We do know that brands are experimenting themselves with ways to do things which perhaps does involve content. Now, is it classic advertising? If Nike goes and gives $1 million to Electronic Arts to develop a game, to them that's marketing spend. But how are we really looking at it, and can that classically be called advertising? So what we're beginning to see is advertising moving to other types of communication and marketing, and not necessarily returning back to where it first came from. That is a structural challenge for media owners, and also obviously for some of the people in this room. However, in acknowledgement of that, what is actually happening? Why is that happening? Because that consumer is migrating online and is now migrating quicker online. So although at the beginning of the recession that consumer may still have been watching a bit of television, although not according to the last speaker, you can bet that if he is or she is, it's probably online and not on a linear channel. Right, so that is a structural change and therefore a structural challenge.